When Match of the Day first visited Ayresome Park in the black and white days of the late 60s, Middlesbrough under Stan Anderson were in the second division promotion pack. They finished 6th, 4th again and 7th in 4 consecutive seasons. They had a prolific goal scorer in John Higton, who was Borough's top marksman for 6 years running. And he had a lively partner in Hugh McElmoyle.
Downing going for the return, but Williams there. Setting a nice dummy to McElmoyle as well. John Manning. Bit of a flick there by Bill Gates. Charlie Hurley getting his side into trouble. And the opening goal of the match comes from John Higton with only 45 seconds gone. What a terrible return for Charlie Hurley, coming back to the northeast after having 11 years with Sunderland, and he presents John Higton with a goal for Middlesbrough after only 45 seconds of the match. McMordy trying to tee it up, trying to do a Rodney Marsh there, didn't quite come off. McElmoyle underneath it again. Absolutely stood still. 40 minutes and 7 seconds. 2-0 to Middlesbrough. Higton acting as decoy. Gates gets up. Gates up again. Higton! And a goal! So simple that it almost couldn't be true, but it was. McElmoyle! And Hopkinson coming out to protest them with every justification. The defensive header was missed and McElmoyle just had the nod.
4-0 to Middlesbrough there. For 6 seasons under Anderson, Borough never finished lower than 9th in the second division. But promotion eluded them, despite Higton's masterful finishing.
This is Mills. Good looking ball, Higton! John Higton meeting the ball first time, and poor Cooper didn't have much chance with that. Played forward by Page to Latchford. Hatton moving on the right. He's got across Spraggan. On the post, Francis!
A young Trevor Francis went up with Birmingham, but when Middlesbrough missed out yet again, Stan Anderson gave way to Jack Charlton, fresh from a distinguished playing career with Leeds and England. Charlton's arrival marked the start of the most successful period in Middlesbrough's modern history. He made an immediate impact with his bluff personality, his cute understanding of the game, and his uncomplicated playing style. T's side soon adopted the angular Tynesider, whose first season at Ayresome Park threatened to break all second division records as Borough stormed to the Championship. They took over at the top in October and stayed there for the rest of the season, ensuring promotion halfway through March and clinching the title with 8 games still to play. Borough achieved their highest ever points total of 65, their longest unbeaten league run of 24 games, their best defensive record with only 30 goals against. And with Bobby Murdoch in midfield, their most influential player and the only one signed by Charlton, they won the second division championship by a record margin of 15 points. All this made Charlton manager of the year in his first season. David Mills and the other players he inherited all improved under his coaching methods and motivation. Other names in that championship side included Graham Souness, Stuart Boehme, Willie Madron, Jim Platt, David Armstrong and John Craggs.
Armstrong, the player behind Craggs. Oh, it deflected off the wall. So the goal will go down to Johnny Craggs. And it came off the wall past the goalkeeper who had moved the other way. Johnny Craggs' 3rd goal of the season, through the wall, deflecting the ball the opposite way, the one which the goalkeeper had moved to. Nicol, Ross, Little, Rioch, force right, Graydon. Rioch. Left foot this time. Nailed it. Bruce Rioch. As that move started, he went right or was forced right. It came back to him and a left foot through the crowd. Saw the goalkeeper seeing it too late.
Bruce Rioch would later manage Middlesbrough, but for now it was the affable Sergeant Major Charlton who was cracking the whip. Jack put fitness high on his list of priorities as Middlesbrough prepared for their return to the First Division after 20 years.
Come on, Jim, you'll catch him if you rush. It's only got about 10 minutes and you're finished.
In Charlton's terms, Middlesbrough were only just starting. They weren't joining the big league just to make up the numbers. They had a team spirit and a playing pattern that would stand them in good stead.
Come on, the last two you're on now. You're two to do.
Borough lost only 3 of their first 14 games and at one stage were 3rd in the First Division. Charlton's team were hard to beat and they eventually finished 7th.
Playing with so much confidence, Alan Hudson. Now Mahoney. Hudson again. Appeal against Bone for handball. It's given. Penalty. Number 5, Bone the offender, and the referee had no doubt at all. Hudson was involved in the move twice, and Mills being persuaded not to protest because the referee's already booked 2 Middlesbrough players. And it's down to Jim Platt now to try to stop the penalty. John Ritchie to take it. As the referee ran back to the centre, 1 or 2 protests followed him from Middlesbrough players. But Ritchie gives Stoke the lead. Armstrong's got Hickton going to his right, number 9. Souness to Murdoch. That's for Craggs, who got well forward. Mills. Souness. Oh, beautiful shot by Graham Souness. Just what Middlesbrough wanted, an immediate reply. John Craggs, the fullback, had got well forward, as he tends to do, had a hand in the move. The ball came back to Souness, and what a beautiful shot, beating Farmer right in the corner.
You've got to be brave enough, Bob, and you Spake, to put the ball into them positions. Wide, when there's nobody there, because he's going to get there. But you've got to go square on these things. A tackle near post when the ball's in short for Willie's run. But ball goes to Willie if he's free.
In that same season, Borough equalled their best ever performance in the FA Cup.
Hallam. Souness has given it a curve. What a mistake! Well saved. Bronson scores. Sunderland going to the lead after 10 minutes of play. Craggs. That could have been dangerous too. Spraggan coming forward for Middlesbrough. Mills comes to Souness. Souness, a lovely ball. Murdoch, it's a goal. Beautiful goal. Beautiful, beautiful goal started by Souness, the man who gave one away earlier on. They played that great. Spraggan to Craggs. Mills taken down. It must be a penalty. Mills taken down by Trevor Swinburne. The ball had bounced very well for him. It looked suspiciously like offside, but he did get through, and when he got through, Trevor Swinburne took him down. So it's still Mills who's been causing all the problems, and now a penalty for Middlesbrough. Hickton shot, took it in over the line. It's Murdoch. Good ball, they were in their own half. It's Mills, David Mills has got the chance. He's taken down again, is it another penalty? It is. It was very, very close, but Mr. Mathewson has given it. He checked with his linesman. Penalty number 2 for Hickton, goal number 3 for Middlesbrough. The score, Middlesbrough 3, Sunderland 1.
That meant a place in the 5th round.
Rice beating Hickton. Peterborough playing some good stuff. Here's Robson. That's useful. Gregory. It's coming to Nixon. Must be. 15 minutes gone. And the good stuff that Peterborough had been showing rewarded. Bogan. Carmichael in 2 minds. And it's in. Bogan making up for it, catching Carmichael in 2 minds, and the scorer is David Mills.
Borough won the replay to reach the 6th round, the furthest they'd ever been in the FA Cup.
Hatton right up on the line. Gallagher at the back, and Hatton scored! What a start to the second half! If you quote the expression of Howard Kendall at the start of that half, the immediate long ball, the corner one, the in-swinger met by Gallagher slightly on the side of his head, and Bob Hatton opens the scoring.
But the following season, Middlesbrough did lay their hands on a senior trophy at last. They reached the final of the Anglo-Scottish Cup, and the first leg against FA Cup finalist Fulham was at Ayresome Park.
Armstrong, Madron. Comes to Hickton, number 10. That was a fine ball from Murdoch to Cooper. It was a brilliant ball. Cooper's cross and Strong into his own net.
That was the only goal of the first leg, so a 0-0 draw at Craven Cottage gave the cup to Middlesbrough. With the minimum of outlay, Charlton had given Teesside a team to be proud of, and one that was hard to beat.
Armstrong collected that well. Mills is just to his right, wanting the through ball. Here's Mills. Takes on Merrick and gets round him and goes down, and the referee has given a penalty kick. So Middlesbrough's chance to score what would be only their 11th goal of the season in the league, and David Armstrong steps forward and scores quite easily. It's a matter of some importance to City to try and get this goal back as soon as they can. If they can just put pressure on Middlesbrough in the early minutes of this half before it really settles, they might save themselves a more difficult job later on. Garland got up well, it came to Merrick. And the skipper does the job. Armstrong looking for Mills, and Middlesbrough, for all that's said about them, are pushing forward again now. Good run by Mills. Wood is just behind, and it's in the back of the net by Bride.
But that 1976-77 season was to be the last at Ayresome Park for Jack Charlton. An independent figure, to say the least, he decided to leave.
You've got to go beyond people into that area. You've got to get the hardest ball in the world for a defender to hit is one when he's going back.
Charlton went back into management with Sheffield Wednesday and later with the Republic of Ireland. But he said his only regret in football was leaving Middlesbrough too soon. The new man at Ayresome Park was Durham-born John Neal, who wasn't slow to dismantle Charlton's team and build his own.
Hunter again. This is Tainton for Bristol. Again, Royal is the target. That was Mabbott. It's going to come to Jerry Gow. Oh, a good goal. That was really well taken. And Jerry Gow puts some life back into the match now and into Bristol City. There's Armstrong. And Armstrong again, he went nicely for that and scored! Oh, that's well taken as well by David Armstrong.
When Match of the Day switched to Sunday in 1980, Borough was centre stage.
Good afternoon and welcome to this week's programme, which has the salty flavour of the North East about it. Country where the memories of players such as Milburn, Shackleton, Mannion and the like will still be part of the folklore in 100 years' time. Our main match comes from Ayresome Park, where Middlesbrough played Norwich City, and it's sensational.
The team news is that Middlesbrough make 2 changes. Jim Platt returns in goal after injury, and with Terry Cochrane still unfit, David Shearer replaces Irving Nattrass as Borough revert to a 4-3-3 formation. Billy Ashcroft fit enough only to be substitute, so 19-year-old Mike Angus continues at centre half. Here's Angus. That's Shearer. Interchange with Hodgson. Simons with the defender, who was finally penalised. Johnston up, and Armstrong's in there, saved by the goalkeeper's feet, back by McAndrew, and in! And on his 200th first-team appearance, the captain scores. Coming from a free kick by John Craggs, Armstrong's first effort hitting the goalkeeper Hansbury, and Tony McAndrew heading through to put Middlesbrough into the lead after 7 minutes. McAndrew. Hodgson is out wide, it's a good ball. Johnston coming in, and so now is McAndrew. And he's hit the post! And Bond got the ball away. Well, Tony McAndrew is making this almost a virtuoso performance. He scored one, and he hit that beautifully through a crowd of players, and it came back off the post, and Kevin Bonds scooped it away. Over again. By Johnston as far as Barham. Oh, there's a break for Middlesbrough with Hodgson. He's got Jankovic to his right, he's got Shearer through the centre. There's Jankovic, and Middlesbrough have got 3 players coming from the back now. And one of them is Angus, the centre half on the far post here. Oh, and Hansbury's missed it, Jankovic! Poor Roger Hansbury, he knows that's his fault. Hodgson started that with a good run down the centre. He found Jankovic out on the right. The cross looked too long, but Mike Angus beat Kevin Bond to it. And when his cross came back in, poor Roger Hansbury made a terrible mess of it, and Bosko Jankovic made it 2-0 with 31 minutes gone. There goes Jankovic, and the goalkeeper's committed himself rashly here. They're queuing up in the middle. And out from underneath the crossbar, Johnston's in there. Here's Armstrong. And a turn by... Oh, and Johnston goes it on Hansbury. It was McAndrew in your picture who had that last shot, incidentally. And as he did so, Johnston went in to challenge Roger Hansbury, and the Middlesbrough player got the worst of it.
Middlesbrough, who start the second half, have been the one North East club to provide First Division football consistently over the last 6 years. And John Neal's certainly got a good young side here. This is Armstrong, only 25 still himself. He's through. Played it inside to Jankovic. Well, Bosko Jankovic needs only one goal now to beat his total for the whole of last season, because as Armstrong threaded his way through there, Jankovic turned and shot just wide, but Bosko's goal today is his third of this season, and 3 was his total for the whole of last. Proctor's header, then Powell, then Armstrong, then Shearer. Oh, and nicely done again by Middlesbrough. Here's Armstrong, and he's got Jankovic in here, and Hansbrough makes a good stop. Just got his left hand to it. Beautifully set up by little Armstrong. He put Jankovic in, Jankovic took it early, and the goalkeeper made a good save. Oh, what a mix-up, and it's gone in! Well, who's going to get the credit for that? I'm not quite sure. It was certainly Armstrong's corner, and it went through a whole crowd of players and finished up in the net. Johnston, Armstrong, McAndrew, Hodgson. He's got Bond to beat. Good tackle, but Hodgson's so quick to win it back. Driven in, and Bosko Jankovic at the far post. And Middlesbrough could be onto a hatful here. They really could. They've missed so many chances and torn the Norwich defence apart so often and so completely with crosses like that. And Jankovic. Oh, and Armstrong was coming. Armstrong! Oh! Well, that could have gone anywhere, and Hansbrough just scooping it out from David Armstrong. Johnston. Shaking them off nicely. Proctor's in there with a header. Oh, he's put it over the bar. Well, they've missed some really good chances of Middlesbrough. Good cross by Craig Johnston, and Mark Proctor really should have put that in. His header was just too high. Proctor. Wide on the left is Ian Bailey. Again. It's been given away again. Bailey's still in there fighting for it in a corner finally. McAndrew, and a corner again. Hodgson's flick. Oh, and it's gone in off Woods, I think. Hodgson certainly got the first touch for Middlesbrough. But I think it may well have gone in off Clive Woods. The corner curled into the near post, a back header by Hodgson, deflection in, and it's 4-0. Norwich, and scores his 10th goal of the season. Mistake by McAndrew, who just completely misjudged it and let Fashanu through, and within a minute Norwich get one back. Inside it goes. Here's Johnston. Oh, saved by Hansbrough. Tipped it over. Really cracked that, Craig Johnston, and Hansbury did well to turn it over. Johnson's at the far post, and Johnson's got that one without a doubt. Well, 3 goals in no more than a couple of minutes, and Craig Johnston heads it at the far post from David Armstrong's corner, and the score is now 5-1. And John Neal and his coach, John Coddington, must be delighted. Johnston. Header by Hodgson, hooked away by Simons. Angus Craggs. Proctor. Craggs again. Is he offside? Jankovic? No, he's not. Now then, can Jankovic do it here? He can. Thumped it in. And with 10 minutes to go, Bosko Jankovic scores again. Once more, Norwich a man short at the back. The ball played at the right time, putting Jankovic through, and this time he's finishing absolutely on target. And the referee brings to an end one of the more memorable afternoons at Ayresome Park, and John Neal shakes hands with John Bond, because his side have proved that he's got a team here who do know how to attack and do know how to put the ball away. A day that Bosko Jankovic will remember, but a day when the whole Middlesbrough side played with flair and freedom, and that's one of the old-fashioned football scores, isn't it, when games used to be like that more often. Middlesbrough 6, Norwich City 1.
When Middlesbrough opened their FA Cup campaign at Swansea the following January, 2 of their key forwards, Craig Johnston and David Armstrong, were out injured and watched from the stand. They saw Borough inflict another massacre.
To Curtis, it's been that way so often, and back again. James. Again an awkward ball, Charles, right down to the goalkeeper, and he got it at the second attempt. Jeremy Charles came zooming in on that, hung in the air, knocked it down, and the goalkeeper Jim Platt had a second grab before he got it. So it's Mark Proctor with the corner. Ashcroft got a touch. Well, it came awkwardly loose for a moment then. Ashcroft got the touch, and Tony McAndrew almost got a foot in. Ashcroft, and he's put it there this time, and it's a goal. The ball crossed from Cochrane, and really, while Swansea were thinking they'd escape then, they seemed to pause. The whole defence seemed to freeze. The ball knocked back into the box, and there was Ashcroft. The striker turned stopper, reverts to his goal-scoring habit, and right against the run of play, and the 42nd minute puts the First Division side in front. Shearer to McAndrew, actually hard in, but McAndrew is strong enough. Oh, he found Hodgson so well. Can he turn on Rushbury? On to number 4, Angus, and it's 2-0. A real blockbuster. McAndrew won the ball, played a beautiful ball through to Hodgson. Hodgson turned, measured the pass to Angus, and the young midfield defender came tearing through to tank it home. Robbie James. Attlee flicked on to Curtis. Oh, and there's Giles' first touch! First touch in the game, and it's the story of the first half again. 45 seconds gone in this second half, just the start like the first half, and Swansea have missed yet another chance. Well, it's very awkward for a player when he comes on like that. He's not really heated up to the pace of the game, but the chance was there and should be taken. Phillips. James tried to lay it on for Robinson. And James couldn't get there because of the referee. Proctor miskicked, and the ball is bobbling and bouncing and chattering on this pitch. A lot of bad breaks. Giles. Corner. Certainly with the wind and the uneven pitch, it really is rippling on occasions when they pass it, chattering over the uneven ground. The players having problems. Oh, kicked off the line. Stevenson got it there. The defender was on the line. It was Stevenson's header, but the defender knocked it straight back. It was straight at him. The reflex was there, and it's out again. Now Rushbury. And number 12, Giles, offside. And the referee, Joe Worrell, absolutely in line with play, and there will be few quarrels with that. Swansea look disappointed, but they're not arguing. Back header by Angus, but this is Rushbury. Hodgson, he's wide and he's got an empty goal, and he's there, 3-0. The man who's caused so much trouble throughout this match, and he surely now puts it beyond Swansea's reach. Hodgson battling away up front. He really has been a thorn in this Swansea defence. He's fought for everything, he's shown skill and speed, and there he showed finishing ability. Well, it'll be an enjoyable trip back to the northeast tonight. Middlesbrough not one away from home this season, but in this important FA Cup tie they seem to be on the way now, and well on the way. 3-0 in front. Hodgson. Oh, what a spectacular effort, it is there! Terry Cochrane scores one of the most spectacular goals of the season. He goes across the Middlesbrough supporters to celebrate, and no wonder. There was absolutely nothing on there. The ball just bobbing around. It was loose to Cochrane. He speculated, and they accumulate as well. 4-0 now, 2 goals in a minute. It's such an incredible contradiction of the way the game has gone. It's James. Attlee. Phillips, Giles. Swansea trying to play a lot of these 1-2s in the box, and they're not working. Now they've got problems. Swansea 3 against 2. Proctor through to Hodgson, and it's number 5. 10 minutes left, and yet another breakaway. Splits Swansea wide open. Middlesbrough had a spare attacker there, and when Proctor got clear, he made no mistake with the pass through to Hodgson. And Hodgson kept his head and found himself eventually with an empty net. Terry, do you score many like that?
No, they just come once in a while. Very special.
Now, when you got the ball, it broke loose. Were you aware of the sort of geography of what?
Well, the ball was knocked to the far end of the 6-yard box, and I got into the middle, so I knew I was somewhere near the goals, especially in the middle. So instead of trying to turn on it, I just tried an overhead kick, which I do these wee things in training, you know. Sometimes they come off and sometimes they don't, but it came off on the day.
It started a cup run that once again saw Middlesbrough progress to the quarter-final, that perpetual hurdle. Against Wolves at Ayresome Park, Cochrane figured again.
The call's on the near post. That's where it went, and it's going to come to Jeff Palmer with the shot. He hit his own player, McCall. Here's Eves. And there's Gray. And it's there. And Andy Gray responds to the demands made by John Barnwell and Richie Barker and scores after 8 minutes. Jankovic. Cochrane. Armstrong. It's Cochrane. Terry Cochrane equalises, and Ayresome Park celebrates.
But Borough lost the replay and collapsed against champions-elect Aston Villa.
Evans gets up, there's With. Here's Evans, Shaw! Gary Shaw! And Morley from McNaught. Cowans. Proctor chasing him back. Morley available again. With! built up with Platt. Evans!
John Neal had had enough. It was hard for Middlesbrough to hang on to star players, and his successor, Bobby Murdoch, inherited a team shorn of the likes of Craig Johnston, David Armstrong and Mark Proctor, all sold for big fees. Without them, Borough faced relegation.
Pickering, Munro, Rowell, Buckley. Sunderland building quite nicely. Here's McCoy's, that's a tap for Buckley. Good save by Pratt. And good play by Bailey. Good deserved applause for a nicely built attack. And not for the first time in the match, it was Buckley who got in there at the end. And Pratt, coming to meet him, parried to good purpose. Here's Hodgson, who just kept onside. Got Ashcroft up to help. Bit of a dive in by Hindmarch, and it's gone in off the combination of Ashcroft and Munro. Ashcroft will claim the credit, there's no doubt about that. 34 minutes gone, and Middlesbrough take the lead. And they've had more than one break in the match before. And that one was one of some pace. Hodgson just staying onside, running down the left side. Hindmarch really diving in with the tackle. The ball pulled across. Munro going with Ashcroft and the ball in the net. Thomas. And it's Baxter's shot. Seemed to get a deflection. And Middlesbrough get the second goal. 78 minutes. And Middlesbrough seem to have made sure of the spoils of the 3 points, which will close the gap between them and Sunderland.
But to no avail. Middlesbrough went back to the second division after 8 years in the first. A boardroom revolution installed Malcolm Allison as manager, and there were hopes of a revival at Ayresome Park.
Hankin, forward for Bell. Beautiful taken by Bell. So he's the hero for the second Saturday running. Well, I must say it was a delightful ball that was played to him by Ray Hankin. He's gone to look for Hankin, I'm sure. There he was. Just lobbed through, and Bell, with great confidence, placing it away from Bob Boulder to give the home side a lead. Solid display, is Baxter. But suddenly, out of nothing, Pearson scores. And really they went to sleep from the throw-in. Shelton, who turned it on, and Pearson finally ends a long drought to equalise at 1-1.
In 1984, Allison steered Borough to a famous FA Cup victory over Arsenal, and one of their scorers, Paul Segru, netted twice in this fourth-round tie against Bournemouth. But Borough lost at Notts County in the fifth round, and by March Allison had gone. Jack Charlton returned until the end of the season, and then the popular Willie Madron took over as manager. But Middlesbrough were in decline. They only escaped relegation in 1985 by winning at Shrewsbury on the last day of the season. And here they went out of the FA Cup to 4th Division Darlington in a third-round replay. The demise of what had been a respectable First Division club had spread to the supporters. Crowds at Ayresome Park slumped to 4,000, and the following season Borough slid into the 3rd Division, where they had spent one season in the 60s. Even the return of local favourite Tony McAndrew, who scored a consolation goal at Darlington, couldn't stop the misery. And neither at first could the new manager, Bruce Rioch, who discovered in the summer of 1986 just how bad things were off the field. Middlesbrough were bankrupt. The official receiver moved in, the stuff moved out, the gates at Ayresome Park were padlocked. But Rioch refused to give up. His players continued to train elsewhere and started their 3rd Division programme by borrowing Hartlepool's ground.
With debts of £2 million, the club went 90 minutes past a deadline set for closure before being saved by the intervention of the local authority and North Eastern business. On the field, a rejuvenated Archie Stevens scored twice as Middlesbrough drew 2-2 with Port Vale and began a run of 6 games without defeat that has put them top of the 3rd Division. The gates were eventually unlocked by new chairman Colin Henderson 3 days after the start of the season, and the dark days of summer will remain a painful memory for manager Bruce Rioch.
The training was going very, very well from July 17th onwards until the time that we weren't able to gain access to Ayresome Park and our own training grounds, and we were short of materials and facilities. And we moved from one ground to another. I mean, we had great help from the local people, but we didn't actually have a base. And of course, the nearer the issue went to the start of the season, and the doubts that the football club may not exist, then obviously the more doubts that we had from the players.
Yeah, the gates were locked on July the 30th, and Bruce and myself, and especially Bruce, he kept the club afloat. He's done superb, Bruce, and the players have kept in. We've stuck together, and we're getting the results for it now. But I must admit that if it hadn't have been for Bruce, I don't think the club would have survived.
Come into the ground, and we wouldn't know where we were training on the particular morning, and we'd have to go to local colleges, school fields even to train, and it was like one bag of balls, no equipment and nothing, no bibs. It was more or less like it was at school. You take your coats off and throw them down and make a 5-a-side pitch. But it was great from the coaching staff, the manager, that he kept things going, and morale was kept pretty high.
Back to it. Taken the lead with 5 minutes of the first half left.
That '66 World Cup goal is the most famous remembered by the Ayresome Park footballing public, who today are supporting the club's revival by returning in double the numbers of last season, despite local unemployment.
We're going on the right way. We're getting crowds of 7,000 now, whereas last year we were just getting crowds of 4. So it just shows you, if you're successful on the field of play, we will get the public coming back on us.
Borough won promotion as 3rd Division runners-up, and the following season, despite an FA Cup scare here against Sutton United, who finally succumbed in extra time at Ayresome Park to a Paul Kerr goal, Middlesbrough finished 3rd in Division 2 and qualified for the playoffs. They had already shown what they could do against 1st Division opposition when they took Everton to 3 matches in the 4th round of the FA Cup. By now, players like hard-tackling Dean Glover, high-scoring Bernie Slaven and pacey Stuart Ripley, who scored here and played regularly for England under-21s, were attracting rave reviews. Although Everton scraped through here, Borough were back in the land of the living. Ayresome Park had witnessed 2 remarkable years born out of acute adversity. Crowds that had dropped to 4,000 now averaged 4 times that figure, and well over 20,000 packed the stadium for 2 2nd Division matches. It marked the rebirth of a club steeped in tradition, and former heroes like the incomparable Wilf Mannion were among those who watched with admiration as Bruce Rioch turned what was a lost cause into a going concern.
Well, they were practically finished, as you say, but I think Rioch's done a marvellous job. He's lifted them up by the bootstrings, and he's concentrating on local talent, and he's built up a very good side. Also, you can see the discipline in the side. He's a very good manager, and they've got some very good players.
One of them was Gary Pallister, picked for England and transferred to Manchester United for £2.3 million. His defensive partner Tony Mowbray was Borough's Captain Fantastic, a born leader who epitomised the Rioch revival.
Until you lose a football club from your community, you don't realise the problems that it can cause. I mean, at the end of the day here, not just at Middlesbrough, but at all clubs across the country, a successful football club lifts the enthusiasm of the community. Those people that follow football intensely, or those people that follow football on the peripheral, they get a big kick out of their side doing well for the town. And I mean, you have to ask the Accrington Stanleys and the Southports, whose teams went out of existence, how difficult it can be.
It was difficult for Middlesbrough to beat Bradford City in the semi-final of the playoffs, but now the first leg of the final against Chelsea.
Middlesbrough need a good cross. Giversinho got a header to it! Trevor Senior, but definitely a mix-up in the Chelsea defence. Oh, waved on by Keith Hackett. Oh, that's a good ball out by Senior. Slaven's completely unmarked and he can go well forward into the penalty area. And can he pick somebody out? He got it the second time! Bernie Slaven gives Middlesbrough what could be an absolutely crucial second goal.
Slaven's 24th goal of the season put Borough in good heart for the second leg at Stamford Bridge. May the 28th, 1988 proved a momentous day in Middlesbrough history. Tony Mowbray led out a team just 90 minutes away from the First Division, less than 2 years after the club had virtually ceased to exist.
Dury with the throw for Chelsea. Nevin against the post. Ripley made himself a yard but didn't seem to appreciate it. And against the post and then over the top from Slaven. So both goals escape courtesy of the woodwork in the opening minutes of the game. Ripley held on and the chip was just over the keeper's fingers, off the post and then over the top with the goal gaping from Slaven. McLaughlin, Glover. Monster's little pass through, Dixon's touch and Wilson to Nevin. Nevin's chip, Dury! That has opened it up. Now we really have got a playoff on our hands. Nevin has always looked dangerous taking men on, pulls back the cross, first time from Dury, and Pear's stranded. 15 minutes to go. But it's a tightrope Middlesbrough walking. One slip is all it needs. Equally true, of course, of Chelsea. They only need to have a moment of casualness in their defence, and another goal for Middlesbrough would surely settle it. But it doesn't look too likely at the moment. It's Chelsea again through Nevin. Curled one. Pears soil all the way. Bruce Rioch counting the seconds, moistening the lips. I doubt whether anything he experienced as a player was as tense as what he's been through this afternoon. A mistake now would be barely forgivable. Slaven. And there's the whistle. Middlesbrough have lost 1-0, but they win 2-1 on aggregate. They head for the First Division, and Chelsea go back to the second. The goal by Gordon Dury was not enough for Chelsea. The goals that Trevor Senior and Bernie Slaven scored at Ayresome Park on Wednesday night have done the trick, and Middlesbrough's marvellous rise from the brink of insolvency to the First Division in 2 seasons is complete.
Steve Pears, Dean Glover, Colin Cooper, Tony Mowbray, Gary Parkinson, Gary Pallister, Bernie Slaven, Gary Hamilton, Paul Kerr, Stuart Ripley, Alan Kernigan, Brian Laws, Mark Burke and Trevor Senior. These were the heroes who Borough fans saluted after their second successive promotion. Players who in turn acknowledged the contribution of the Teesside contingent in the 40,000 crowd on that summer Saturday in 1988. It was just 6 years since Middlesbrough had left the First Division, but there were times in the dark days of 1986 when their very survival looked unlikely. Giants like Tony Mowbray had made the dream come true. Come the following season, life returned to normal. Borough made a sound enough start in the First Division. They had a run of 6 wins in 9 games early in the season. But despite the regular supply of goals from Bernie Slaven, they had perhaps come too far too quickly. Expectancy was high among crowds of 20,000 at Ayresome Park. But an FA Cup defeat there by 4th Division Grimsby was a prelude to a disastrous run in the second half of the season. From the middle of January, Borough won only 1 of 17 First Division games. They had to beat Sheffield Wednesday at Hillsborough on the last day of the season in order to survive an immediate return to the Second Division. Weakened by the absence through injury of key players, Middlesbrough lost 1-0 and went down. They only just stayed in the Second Division in 1990. Rioch was still in charge for this FA Cup replay at Everton, but in March he was replaced by his assistant Colin Todd, who therefore led Borough out on their first ever visit to Wembley, where they lost to Chelsea in the Zenith Cup final. Again, the relegation battle went to the last day of the season, but this time Middlesbrough beat Newcastle 4-1 and stayed in Division 2. With Todd confirmed as manager and defiant gestures like the one coming up here from Gary Parkinson, Borough once again fell back on the club's undying spirit to lift them towards a place in the playoffs in 1991. The match of the day years have twice seen Middlesbrough rise from the 3rd Division to the 1st, and soon they will proudly rub shoulders with the top brass again.